Hello, everyone. Well, welcome back for another NAIFA Texas Member Spotlight. I'm Bianca Alonso. I'm your NAIFA Texas Government Relations Manager, and I am back to interview our September Member Spotlight, and he is a familiar face to most. Today we have today we have Lane Boozer out of Denton, Texas. He is the current president for NAIFA Dallas and past president of NAIFA Texas from 2014-2015. Lane, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Of course, yeah. Well, let's just dive right into it. So Lane, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? And how did you find NAIFA, or did NAIFA find you?
Well, I grew up here in Denton, Texas. In fact, I've been here most of my life. Graduated here from Denton High School when there was only one high school in Denton. There are now 5. It's grown quite a lot. And I graduated in 1986, and I went straight to College Station to Texas A&M University, where I eventually graduated some years later. Anyway, I wound up living down there for about 12 years until 1998. And by that time, I had graduated, and got married, we had a baby who was a year old at the time. And about a year prior, my father, Don Boozer, you may know him too, his business was growing, and he came and basically recruited me. He said, I need to hire some help, and I want to hire somebody I trust. So I'd like you to move back home. And it took him a year to convince me. And I'm glad he did, because it allowed my wife to stay at home with our daughter, which was one of her stipulations. But it was interesting because by the end of my first year in the business, I was actually making more money than she and I were making combined in our previous life. And so I want to say I told you so, but I was like, hey, this actually worked. That was about May of '98. I actually joined, I think my join date of NAIFA, or what was then NALU, was July 1 of '98, and my license date is August 28th of '98. So I've actually been a member longer than I've been licensed.
Wow. Oh, wow. Wow, that's awesome.
And I'll probably be here till I'm done.
Which is hopefully a very long time from now.
I hope so. I'm not that old.
Absolutely. Well, you actually answered part of my next question. You just talked about how you kind of got into the business, and you work with your dad, Don Boozer, who is also a past president of NAIFA Texas. Can you kind of explain what your thought process was going into working with your dad / family, and can you talk a little bit about, the kind of mentorship that you received, whether it was through your dad or perhaps another colleague?
Well, I came into the business knowing something about it. Technically, I grew up around the business because my father's been, in the business since I became an idea, many years. So I've known a lot of people who are still members, many of whom are not with us anymore. So I grew up around the business, and I had a lot of mentors, my father included. But I will tell you that one of the first things I did, in fact, I think before I was ever even licensed, is they said, you need to get into LUTC classes. That'll teach you something. So I did. And actually, that was a great tool for a new agent to come in and learn some basics. And a lot of those skills and traits I still use today. And it's been 23 years now. So I had a lot of mentors, including my dad. And as far as working with a family member, one thing that Don, or my dad, this is the training coming into practice here. He says, when you answer the phone, he says, don't say, let me get my dad for you. Say, let me get Don. This sounds, let me get my daddy.
Yes.
Sound like, the whipping boy. And it's still just a habit today. And so people say, why do you call your dad Don? Why don't you call him Dad? And I have to explain that whole story. It's just sound like, it's a nepotism shop, which technically it is, but that's why. And so I have a lot of mentors, and in fact, including current members and some of my peers, I would consider them.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely. Yeah, and so I think that's actually like a good transition into your time in leadership roles within NAIFA Texas. Can you talk a little bit about how your work experience has translated into your leadership roles within NAIFA Texas?
Okay, so leadership roles. Let's go back to, I was involved in my local association, well, most of them are gone now, but even as we progressed over time, their former local associations or chapters that even prior to QME had kind of blended in with others. But we had a chapter here in the Denton-Louisville area called the North Texas chapter. And I was involved in, various committees and leadership roles there. Along comes this Lilly program. In fact, Tom Curry approached me, I want to say around 2000 when he was first kicking it off. And I thought I said, there's just no time for me to do that. And then finally I think I was the third class, I believe, to go through. And I tell you what, I'm sorry I waited.
Yeah.
But as soon as I came out, as soon as I graduated the Lilly program, Des Taylor called me. He was then our CEO and lobbyist. Lane, there is a position available on the Texas board, and we would like you to fill it. And it was an empty director position. I think we called them regional directors at the time. So I was appointed to that to fill out an empty term, and that was in 2003. And then ran again, and eventually graduated up the leadership roles, ran for secretary in 2012, I believe, and then was president 2014 and 15. And that was a pretty good run. By the time it was all said and done, I think they said I was the longest continually serving board member in NAIFA Texas history. And I guess it just didn't seem that long, but I guess it was.
Yeah.
Once it's gone, I'll be honest with you, part of me misses it, part of me doesn't, but I'm glad I did it. And I'm glad that we have some good, solid people in there doing it now. And I feel pretty good about us going forward.
Absolutely. And, and are there any aspects of NAIFA Texas that you would like to learn more about or be perhaps more involved in?
At some point, I might like to serve on the state board again. At this point, I don't feel prepared to. I need to focus on my business for a while.
Sure, absolutely. I
think once we get past this current anomaly that is COVID and everything that's happened here in the last couple of years, back to some sort of normalcy. But I think a lot of things have changed that probably are not going to change back.
Sure.
So I mean, so as far as the Texas board, things like that, things have changed in a lot of ways since I was and it would be a bit of a learning curve for me, but it's something I think I can handle. But it's not on the radar right away. It's just right. I might like to.
It's on the horizon, on the eventual horizon, right?
It could be, yes.
Awesome.
But I answered that question sufficiently.
Yeah. No, fair enough. So I do want to touch a little bit on NAIFA advocacy, and NAIFA Texas just came off from having a pretty successful legislative session. And just in the time that I've been working with NAIFA Texas, which is a little over 2 years now, I guess like the passion and the buzz that exists amongst our memberships when it comes to advocacy is unparalleled. Like whenever I mention, Day at the Capitol, Congressional Conference, anything relating to advocacy, I feel our membership just get excited. And I would love to hear from you. Why do you think advocacy is important? And can you talk a little bit about any experience you've had with NAIFA advocacy, whether it be like on the state level here in Texas or on the national level with NAIFA National?
Just about anything I know about political involvement and advocacy, I've learned because of NAIFA. I mentioned Des Taylor earlier. Was one of my probably greatest mentors ever. He helped me learn to speak, learn to write, learn to talk with others, learn how to address elected officials.
Yeah.
I've been to Days on the Hill in Austin, I think just about all of them since I've been a member. Been to the congressional conference in Washington, D.C. All but the last couple. One was my leg and couldn't go. Of course, the last one we had to cancel because of COVID.
Right.
As far as advocacy, what we've done, for example, yesterday in Dallas, we had our annual legislative day there.
Yeah.
And, Senator Angela Paxton was one of our guests there, and I got to visit with her for a bit.
That's awesome.
Talking about the financial literacy for high school students.
Mm-hmm.
I believe she's one of the co-authors of that bill.
She was.
And Elizabeth Hadley was on Zoom with us and touched on that, and a lot of the details about the past session. But getting to meet Angela face to face and have her come have lunch with us and talk about that face to face with her was kind of like, you know what, we did that.
Yeah.
Took a couple of sessions for us to get it done, but we did it. And
we did it.
Years ago, another thing that we did was we got the Texas Guarantee Association to raise the protection limits on annuities to $250,000. I mean, that doesn't sound like a big deal, but again, it is, and that's us being advocates for our clients, our consumers. We actually got to sit down with then Governor Perry and do a bill signing. There's somewhere in your wall of photos is a photo with a lot of the leadership at the time. Some are still serving on the board. Jason Talley's still your what's it called? Not Secretary of State. I'm sorry. It's Friday afternoon. I'm brain dead. A national committeeman.
Oh yeah, national committee person.
Photo. Doug Massey's in that photo. This Taylor, when he was still living, is in that photo. I think Karen Easterling and Robin Johnston. That was we call ourselves the A team. Cool. So it's all of us standing there, and the senator at the time, whose name escapes me, and then of course Governor Perry. And that was an exciting moment because that was right before Governor Perry had announced, I mean, like a week before he announced he was going to run for president. Normally he'll come in and sit down and sign the bill and hand out pins and say thank you, goodbye, photo op, smile. And then this time he stood up, handed out the pins, turned around and sat on that desk and started talking. And he talked almost as much as Randy Roberts. And finally he took a breath, and he's an Aggie too. He's got a ring that looks like that. I said, Governor, could I see your ring? And I thought, he could just hold it up and, would say, hi, I got one too. That's neat. He takes it off and hands it to me and then starts telling the story. He made a political scene out of it. It was really fun. And there's a photo, and at the time, there was a photo and video of that moment on Huffington Post.
Really?
And, you know how Huffington Post is. And their article was, does Governor Perry wear too much jewelry? Like that matters. And that was us. That was us. That's because of NAIFA that got to happen. Has nothing to do with our business, but we're thankful.
Love it. I just wrote myself a note to look that up because I love Huffington.
Send it to me because I'd love to see
I will.
So that would have been 2012.
Okay.
2011 or 12, something like that, right? Isn't that the first time you ran? 12, or maybe it was 16. It was right before an election year. Maybe it was right after a session, so maybe it was 2015.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool. So it's always really great to hear like past stories that from members, just from just things like us signing with the governor and like past conferences and everything. And I want to ask you, what is your fondest memory of NAIFA Texas? It can be a funny yet appropriate story to tell for this interview.
Oh, it has to be appropriate. Okay. All right. Well, that meeting with the governor was pretty exciting. Pretty big stuff. Because of NAIFA, I've gotten to meet with several people I probably would not have otherwise. They're all pretty big. I'll tell you one that sticks out in my mind is when we lobbied and campaigned and got Tom Curry elected national secretary. And then he later, of course, became president.
Mhm.
I think there was a chance he might not win that election. And that was a big moment for us and for NAIFA Texas. And that was exciting.
Yeah.
Fondest memory, Bianca, there are so many. I mean, getting to travel with my best friends, you know, who are going to San Diego, Las Vegas, New Orleans, Orlando. I'm told we're going to Phoenix next year, and great time to go to Phoenix. But you know, truth is, you seldom get out of the hotel because you see your best friends from all over the country. And again, there's another example. My best friends are coast to coast.
Yeah.
Running buddies, drinking buddies, whatever. We get together, go hunt and play music. Just because we met at a NAIFA conference, it's just amazing. I mean, the connections you make are just brilliant. And I could not imagine that I would find them anywhere else. I guess it's possible. I just want to say the strength of NAIFA and that bonding, those relationships, that the reinforcing of each other, helping each other grow. That's another thing. We help each other grow.
Yeah.
We're not in competition with each other. Work for different companies, but we're on the same team. It's very strong.
Right. You all work for a common good.
Yes.
Is your clients.
Yes, exactly.
I love that. So I have some fun questions, and you kind of touched on one of them. So I know you have a musical side to you.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah. So I first saw, and at first, and the only time I saw your musical side was when we were at the 2020 state conference in Fort Worth, and you were playing the guitar in the lobby of the Omni Fort Worth.
I remember this. Yeah.
Yes. And so how long have you been playing for? What do you play besides the guitar, if any other instruments? And just like tell us a little bit about how music has played a role in your life, and has it translated at all into your career?
Well, I've been in music pretty much my whole life. I'm classically trained as a percussionist, as a drummer. And then through high school and all the way through college and then some, especially in college, I was playing a lot. In fact, I was probably playing more than I was studying, which is why it took me so long to get out.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was making a small income as a musician during college and a little bit after. And playing as a drummer. And the reason I learned to play guitar is because when you play a gig, either at a party or a club or whatever, there's always a little after party somewhere. And it always involves the guitar players pulling out an acoustic guitar. And guess where all the ladies sit? The drummer who's not playing, they sit around the guitar player who's playing. So I thought, you know, I need to learn how to play guitar. And that's so that's something that's just carried with me. And I really haven't played drums much at all in the last several years, but I've been playing guitar. I've got a little music project up here called Kitty and the Beard that we get together and play every once in a while. And a handful of other friends that I play with on a fairly regular basis. And I play a little harmonica. But my band, Kitty and the Beard, I get to sing with this absolutely wonderfully beautiful woman. She looks like Anne Margaret, sings like Bonnie Raitt. I mean, it's got a little ensemble that plays behind us, and it's just a fun time.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you know, it always comes out somewhere.
Absolutely. I mean, well, do you guys have any gigs coming up soon? Because this would be a great time to.
I believe in a couple of weeks, we're going to be playing in Fort Worth at a place called the Riverside Pub or Riverside Cafe. Okay. It'll be a Friday night. I'm not sure. Sometime in the month of September, and I'll put it on Facebook.
You should.
We're watching this video, or friends of mine on Facebook. So
absolutely, yeah.
I want to say it's the Riverside Pub.
Okay.
Our next public gig coming up, and hopefully
very cool.
Thing like a once a month kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that. Very cool. Who would you say are some of your musical influences?
Oh, there are many. That's a question you shouldn't ask a musician, but I will give you. What's like saying if you could take one album with you to a desert island, you know, I would probably have to shoot myself because I couldn't pick just one.
Yeah.
I'll say it. Obviously, it's going to be the Beatles, Stuart Copeland as a drummer. Any song written by John Prine is beautiful.
Yeah.
Robert Earl Keen, Lyle Lovett,
Mm-hmm.
Texas names for you. Glenn Miller, this goes way back.
Yeah.
You know, Jimi Hendrix is an obvious one.
Yeah.
I have B.B. King's guitar. It's actually hanging in a case in the next room.
Really?
Seal. It's autographed by B.B. King that we acquired some time ago.
How did you get it?
Well, we bought it in an auction.
Auction? Yeah.
So you get these catalogs for these, well, you can subscribe to them. But every once in a while, something will come out. We bid on it, and
Is yours?
got it. So yeah,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of influences.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay. So if there was one band or musical artist that you would go on tour with, dead or alive, who would it be?
That's kind of similar to the previous question.
I know, but you have to.
Let's narrow it down to dead. I'll tell you, it would be Prince.
Prince. Okay. I love it. I respect that.
He's extremely talented, versatile, an amazing performer. Just
Yeah.
That would be it. Just off the top of my head, it would be me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so okay, so we've learned about your, you know, your rise in the business and your musical side, but I'm curious if you were not doing what you were doing right now, what do you think you would be doing for work?
Well, I would be playing.
You would be playing full time, and that was something you really considered?
Oh, sure. I mean, the thing is, the music industry has got so commoditized, though. There's, unless you've got a major record label or something behind you, there's not really a lot of money in it.
Sure.
But I would do it for just the love of it. But the other side of me is I'm a woodworker, and I consider myself pretty good at it. And in fact, I've got some projects working right now. I did some custom bar tops for a friend of mine, and
That's cool.
I just built this beautiful fireplace mantle for a friend's house. I've done some projects around my own house. That's something else I love. And
Yeah.
the reason for that is that's something I learned from my uncle many years ago.
Okay.
You know, what we do in our industry is we sell promises.
Mm-hmm.
We sell things that you really can't put your fingers on. You can't touch them, see them, or smell them. You know they're there, but there's a tactile connection to it. And for me, wood gives me that tactile connection of creating something that I can actually see and touch and feel, smell. And it's kind of an outlet for me. Music is kind of the same way.
Yeah.
I love what I do, what we do, and I can't imagine doing anything else. But if I weren't, I would probably be doing a combination of those other two.
Yeah. I did not know you did woodworking. That's really, really cool. So do you have like a side hustle, or is it just like kind of you just make things on demand?
I had a little business for a while. We were making this little, it was a musical instrument, actually. In fact, I have a patent on it. And I just got tired of making them. It's called a tambo toe. And we made thousands of them, sold them all over the world. And it just got so repetitive to me.
Sure.
I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And we're making a lot of money at it. And the fun part of that was going and having a booth at a guitar show or a local festival or something, because basically you'd sit and play guitar and drink beer all weekend.
Yep.
Sell these things at 20 or 25 bucks a pop, whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun, but that's gone just because I don't want to do it. But as far as a side hustle, I take commissioned jobs. So somebody will say, can you do X? And I'll say, yeah. And in fact, I've got 3 or 4 stacked up waiting on a current project to come.
Yeah.
Yes, I can do that, but it's going to be November before I can get it.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely.
But, you know, people like what I do. I enjoy it, and it brings me a small amount of satisfaction. And satisfaction to watch them receive what they've asked for.
Right. And I can only imagine, you know, having like that sort of like hobby or profession, whether it be woodworking, just making something with your hands, like knowing that someone wants to buy something that you made with your own 2 hands. I can't imagine like the kind of satisfaction that must bring. Like that's your blood, sweat, and tears.
it's hopefully not as much blood, but yeah.
No, no, touche.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Lane, seriously, thank you for this conversation. And it really goes unsaid just how much of an impact you've had on NAIFA Texas over the years and the impact that you will continue to have for years to come. And we're so grateful to have you in a leadership role with NAIFA Dallas. And and everyone, use this interview to hold Lane to his word to come back to the board of directors. Hint, hint.
Either in some capacity.
Well, again, Lane, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. We're, like I said, we're so grateful to have you as a member of NAIFA Texas and NAIFA Dallas. And it's always a treat to feature one of our own. And it's been really great to, get to know you a little better and know just, what you do outside of the industry. And I hope maybe at the next NAIFA Texas event, we can get a live show.
I'm sure we could arrange something.
Awesome. All right, Lane. Thank you again.
Well, thank you.